You know, on April 13th, 2029, a mountain-sized rock named Apophis is going to come screaming past Earth. And for a while there, it was, without a doubt, the single most dangerous object known to humanity. It caused a global stir, and for good reason. So, okay, let's get into the incredible story of this asteroid, the god of chaos.
So the good news first. NASA is now very confident that Apophis will miss us by about 19,000 miles. I mean, it's going to fly under our communication satellites. You'll actually be able to see it with your naked eye like a fast-moving star. It's going to be a spectacular show for sure. But that margin of safety, that's what's truly mind-boggling.
And that quote really hits the nail on the head. In the vast, empty blackness of space, 19,000 miles is a hair's breadth. It's nothing. A tiny nudge, a little miscalculation, and the whole story changes. And that is why, for years, Apophis was taken so incredibly seriously.
To really get why everyone was so freaked out, we have to rewind. Let's go back to its discovery and those initial terrifying calculations that basically put the entire world on notice.
So what started as just another faint dot in the sky in June of 2004, well, it escalated, and fast. By December, the data was practically screaming, a 1 in 37 chance of impact. Now that might not sound like a lot, but in astronomical terms, that's an unprecedented, red alert level of threat. They named it Apophis, the Egyptian god of chaos, and boy did that name feel chillingly appropriate. And even though they eventually ruled out the 2029 impact, the story was far, far from over.
To put this all in context, you got to understand the Torino scale. Think of it like a hurricane scale, but for asteroids. 0 is no big deal, and 10 means, well, certain catastrophic collision. Apophis was the first and only object in history to ever reach a level 4. That means it was a threat serious enough to get everyone's attention, and fast.
Phew. Okay, so thankfully, those initial predictions were wrong. But just for a minute, let's imagine they weren't. The source material paints this chilling, fictional picture of what those final days might have actually looked like.
Can you picture it? Total societal breakdown, a kind of orderly panic for the rich, with private jets taking off every 90 seconds. But for everyone else, just abandoned cars on clogged freeways, a desperate march on foot into the unknown.
The economy as we know it would just stop. It would cease to exist. Gas stations wouldn't close because they were out of fuel, but because the tanker drivers just stopped showing up to work. I mean, why would you, right? Why deliver fuel for paper money that's about to be worthless?
And this illustrates the final breakdown. In a world staring down extinction, the only things that would have any value are the absolute basics for survival. We're talking water, ammunition, medicine. That's it.
Yeah, with all official authority just gone, a new, brutal order would emerge. Street gangs would become the law, controlling who gets what and who goes where. And the final official message from the government? One of resignation, followed by complete and total silence as the cell towers go dark.
And the impact itself? Just imagine if Apophis hit the ocean off the coast of California. It would create a tsunami 150 meters high. That's a moving cliff of water taller than a skyscraper, moving faster than a jetliner, just erasing everything.
Okay, let's take a deep breath and step back from that terrifying fiction and look at the actual science. Why are scientists so sure now that Apophis is going to miss? Well, the answer involves two incredibly subtle but super powerful cosmic forces.
So here's the deal. After they ruled out the 2029 impact, the real danger shifted to 2036. See, if Apophis flew through this tiny 2,000-foot wide patch of space in 2029, they call it a gravitational keyhole, Earth's gravity would basically grab it and slingshot it right back at us for a guaranteed impact 7 years later. And to make things even more complicated, there was this crazy thing, the Yarkovsky effect. It's this tiny, almost imperceptible push on the asteroid, but over millions of miles, it really adds up. For Apophis, this effect was causing it to drift about 650 feet closer to us every single year, pushing it closer and closer to that dangerous keyhole. It honestly sounds like something out of science fiction, but it's totally real. As the asteroid tumbles through space, the sun warms up one side. Then, as that hot side rotates into shadow, it radiates that heat away. And that radiation acts like a tiny, tiny rocket engine. We're talking a push that's about the weight of an apple. But it is literally steering the asteroid.
So, the threat of asteroids like Apophis isn't just some thought experiment anymore. It actually spurred humanity into action, and it led to our very first test of a real-life planetary defense system.
Back in 2022, NASA's DART spacecraft literally slammed into an asteroid just to see if we could change its path. And the result? It was an absolutely spectacular success, 25 times more effective than they predicted. We proved for the first time ever that we can actually move these space rocks.
But DART also taught us something really crucial, and a little bit worrying. The asteroid it hit wasn't a solid rock. It was more like a loose collection of boulders and dust, what scientists call a rubble pile. The impact worked so well because it blasted this huge plume of debris into space, which acted like a rocket engine. So the good news is, it works. The bad news? It's messy, and it's a lot harder to predict.
And here's why all this matters so much. Apophis is just one asteroid. NASA estimates there are something like 25,000 city killers like it out there. And the terrifying part? We've only found about half of them. That means there are around 13,500 of these things still out there, flying completely under the radar.
So, after all that, the fear, the wild fiction, the mind-bending science, what's the final verdict on the god of chaos? Let's break it down and really separate the facts from the doomsday story. Look, the fiction was that Apophis was a guaranteed hit and that we were totally helpless. But the fact is that new, better data proves it's going to miss us and miss that dangerous keyhole. And even if it weren't going to, the DART mission proved that we are the very first generation in human history with the technology to actually fight back.
When you think about it, Apophis was a wake-up call, a cosmic fire alarm. It's not a question of if we have the ability to protect ourselves anymore. We do. The only question left is, are we willing to commit to using that power before it's too late?